right after leaving the crowded market. Diep and Nhi suddenly encountered a situation that made both of them stop in their tracks. No one expected that the seemingly normal trip to the market would lead to a dramatic turn of events, changing their entire day. Let's follow along to find out what happened. Early that morning, before the sun had even risen, the sound of roosters crowing from the houses in the neighborhood rang out regularly. Diep gently woke up, stepped out into the yard and took a deep breath. The cool, fresh breeze made her soul feel at ease. Today was an important day, because her garden was ready for harvest. Diep turned to wake Nhi up. The little girl was still sleepy, rubbed her eyes but still quickly put on her coat and followed her mother to the garden. Diep prepares bamboo baskets, ropes and headscarves to start a working day. The dirt path leading to the garden is still covered in a thin layer of dew. The dew drops on the leaves sparkle like pearls. The soft footsteps mixed with the chirping of birds created a peaceful morning picture. Arriving at the garden, the two started harvesting. The fragrant ripe guavas made the whole garden seem full of life. While picking, Diep reminded Nhi to carefully choose ripe fruit, not to pick unripe fruit to save for the next batch. Nhi trotted around the garden, her small hands skillfully picking each fruit, her face covered in sweat but her eyes shining. Mother and daughter worked tirelessly, their voices and laughter echoing in the quiet garden. Only when the bamboo baskets were full did Diep stop and breathe a sigh of relief. She patted Nhi's head and praised her. Good job. Thanks to Nhi. We finished early today. Nhi smiled brightly, her eyes sparkling. When I get home this afternoon, Mom will buy you an ice cream. Diep laughed and nodded in agreement. Mother and child slowly walked towards the market. The village road was now starting to get busier. A few neighbors greeted each other. A few children were playing on both sides of the road. When arriving at the market, Diep chose a clean corner and displayed her goods neatly. The scent of ripe fruit wafted through the air, making many people stop and buy. Nhi helped her mother deliver the goods and receive the money, always smiling politely, making everyone love her. In no time, the fruit baskets were empty and the money in their pockets were heavier. Diep felt relieved, secretly calculating that today she would have enough money to pay Nhi's tuition, and could also buy some rice and other necessary household items. When it was almost noon, the mother and daughter packed up and left, their hearts filled with small joys. But that joy did not last long. When passing a deserted stretch of road, suddenly the sound of a motorbike engine sounded behind her. Then a figure rushed towards her as fast as lightning. Before Diep could react, the masked man had snatched the bag of money from her hand. The sudden jerk made Diep stagger and almost fall onto the road. Nhi screamed in panic, hugging Diep tightly. The car sped away, leaving only a cloud of dust behind. Diep stood there, her heart pounding, tears streaming down her face. All the money they had saved since early morning, all the effort they had put in, was now gone. Nhi hugged Diep tightly, her voice trembling. Mom, what should we do now? Diep hugged Nhi, choking. It's okay, I will find a way. Don't be afraid. But inside her heart was an emptiness and pain. Elsewhere, James had just finished a meeting when he received the news. He immediately drove quickly to Diep and Nhi's place. When he saw Diep hugging Nhi, His face was blank. James felt his heart tighten. He walked over to them, gently placed his hand on Diep's shoulder. "Diep, what happened?" Diep looked up, eyes red, choked up as he recounted everything that had just happened. James clenched his fists, his face showing anger and remorse. He hugged them both, his voice low. "I'm sorry. I should have been here to protect you and Nhi." James looked towards the road where the robber had just disappeared, his eyes determined, a strong determination rising in his heart. He swore that this would not happen again, that he would do everything to keep Diep and her mother safe, that he would never let them suffer the fear like today again. After calming Diep and Nhi down, he took them home. During the journey, he didn't say much, just gripped the steering wheel tightly. His face was pensive. He felt heavy regret in his heart. He blamed himself for being too busy with work, leaving Diep and Nhi to face danger alone. When he got home, James sat down to talk privately with Diep. He listened to her recount every little detail, from the color of the motorbike, where it was headed, and what the robber looked like. He memorized everything, then called a close friend who worked in the security force for help. That same evening, James drove himself to the scene of the robbery. He stopped, looked around, and searched for any clues. A tire mark was still imprinted on the ground. James took pictures of everything with his phone. James also stopped by to ask around nearby residents, hoping for witnesses. An old man selling water on the side of the road vaguely remembered seeing a man speeding towards the edge of the forest on his motorbike. The clues were faint, but James was even more determined. That night, after Diep had put Nhi to sleep, James sat on the porch, his eyes staring into the distance. He remembered Nhi's frightened face, Diep's trembling shoulders, and felt a pang in his heart. He swore that no matter how much effort he had to put in, he would find the person who had hurt the mother and child. Not just because of the lost money, but because he didn't want them to live in fear and anxiety for another day. The next day, James started asking people to find security cameras around the market area and the road home. He drove to each store along the road, asking to extract the data. Finally, in a blurry video, he saw the silhouette of a suspicious car. James pursed his lips, his eyes shining with determination. He felt he was getting closer to the truth. He returned home and saw Diep sitting there mending an old shirt, looking tired but still strong. James walked over and took her hand. "Don't worry. I won't let things stop here. I will find that person." Diep looked at him, her eyes filled with tears, and nodded slightly. Nhi ran out of the house and hugged James. "Uncle James, don't scare me and my mother anymore." James smiled and patted Nhi's head, his heart even more determined to protect this little family. The next morning, James took the initiative to wake up early, prepare a small notebook and write down all the information he had collected last night. He did not just rely on his feelings, but acted with a clear plan. James called a friend in the investigation team and sent him a grainy video of the suspect's car. In return, the friend promised to help track down the suspect's license plate number and the area he frequented. While waiting, James was still restless. He returned to the market and asked around the vendors. A vendor recalled, "Yesterday I saw a guy hanging around at the end of the market. He seemed to be observing people buying and selling. He looked very strange." This clue made James confirm that this was not a spontaneous robbery but a pre-planned one. He continued to ask, until a fruit seller said that he had seen this guy appear several times before. Usually wearing a hat covering his face, driving an old black car. That afternoon, James's friend sent a text message saying he had identified the area the suspect frequented, a row of run-down motels near the edge of the woods. James decided to check it out himself. He put on his coat and hat and drove to the area. The air was damp, the houses were close together, and a few young men were gathered outside smoking. James parked his bike far away and quietly observed. After a while, he saw a man come out with the same figure as in the video, tall and thin. Wearing a gray shirt, riding a black motorbike, James followed him for a while, memorizing the license plate number. He did not rush to confront him, but instead went back to inform his friend in the investigation team. His friend promised to send someone to follow him and make a plan to catch him red-handed. That night, James returned home and told Diep the whole story. She looked at him worriedly. "Don't be reckless. I'm just afraid you'll be in danger." James held her hand and reassured her, "I'll be careful. I'm not doing this just for the money, but because I want you and NHI to not be afraid every time you go out." A few days later, the opportunity came. The investigation team informed James that the suspect was about to sell a stolen item. James immediately went to the scene. In a deserted alley, when he stopped his car, the police appeared and quickly controlled him. James stood far away. Seeing that scene, his heart was filled with emotions. He walked over, looked straight at the robber. His eyes filled with coldness. The robber lowered his head, not daring to look back. After everything was resolved, James returned, bringing good news to Diep and Nhi. Although the money was not fully recovered, the important thing was that the bad guy was caught and would no longer have the chance to harm anyone. Diep breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, tears falling from her eyes with emotion. Nhi hugged James tightly and whispered, "You are my hero." James smiled softly, patting the little girl's head. "I don't dare to be a hero, but I promise that from now on I will always protect you too." The image of three people gathered together, the fire crackling, the bright smiles of Diep and Nhi closed a long, stormy day, but also opened up a new, warmer and safer future.